Good evening, everyone. Hope you liked that video the other day of the hero sandwich. I got something really good dish tonight. I got homemade lo mein, chicken lo mein, and I'm going to post the recipe in the link after this video is done. And this is like, I can't wait to eat this. Nothing like homemade cooking. You just feel like you not only save money, but you just enjoy it more. That's all I can say. I don't think there's any other way to describe it, really. Basically, it's lo mein noodles, chicken breast, bok choy, carrots, ginger, whole bunch of sauces. This tastes fucking good. I suggest if you have any, if you could cook a little bit, or you have some cooking skills, check this out and try to make this delicious chicken breast with noodle. Damn good, man. So Halloween's coming up, everyone, and I hope you are prepared for what should be a national holiday, in my opinion, but they don't see it that way. So, I remember growing up, Halloween was like a ritual for us. It was just, you know, we grew up in I was raised in the housing project, so we got. There was some benefits of living in a housing project because you got, on Halloween, you got 12 apartments to each floor, and there were 7 floors. So that's 84 trick-or-treats, depending on how much they give you. Some wouldn't answer the door. Plus, you have 15 other buildings to cover. So multiply that, and you cleaned up big time. And back then, this was in the 60s, early 70s. You know, you didn't have to worry about having your mom escorting you to each apartment on Halloween. They didn't have those issues back then. Now it's imperative. This is good. Back then, the only thing you had to worry about was basically avoiding the eggs getting thrown at you. But now, you can't have 5 or 6-year-old kids, let alone 11-year-old kids, walking down the streets by themselves. It's just not, not in this day and age, bro. Times have changed. And I actually trick-or-treated up till the age of 12, but as a goof about, I think it was maybe 15 years ago. You know, and then I'm like, at the time I'm pushing like close to 40 years old. I went out trick-or-treating, just as a goof, man, and that's what I'm telling you. Dressed up as Batman. This is so fucking good. This would cost you, if you went to a restaurant, this would have to be about 20 bucks. Easy. It would be under one of these specialties, you know? Specialty items. Yeah. So what can we talk about today? As soon as I said that, the camera decided to take a little tumble. So, for you sports fans out there, we got really nothing to fucking root for, man. The fucking Jets, the Giants are like our only hope. But the Jets, no matter what they do, they will find a way to lose. And it is so sad because their number one pick, who was an incredible offensive tackle in college, he can't even sack the quarterback. I mean, it's sad, man. I mean, listen, you got to give them a couple of years, okay? But got to give this guy maybe this year or next year, because or else he's a bust, man. And it's like anything they touch is a bust. So if they were to get that that linebacker from the Vikings that they were supposed to sign, Barr, I think his name was, he's a great player. He would have been a bust with the Jets. It's like Sam Darnold is not going to help them. I like that quarterback, a Tua, but the Jets will never get him in the draft. No way. He's going to be number 1 overall, and some other team's going to tank and get him. That's the beauty about the NFL. There's no lottery, so a team could tank till the end of the year, deliberately lose and get a number 1 pick and go 1-15. So, and the Giants, at least there's some hope with them, but the fucking New York, aside from the Yankees, has the worst teams. It's almost like they're a glutton for punishment. You know that they're going to lose. You know, these assholes like Stephen A. Smith and the rest of them are trying to hype. That was all bullshit. Trying to hype the Knicks getting these great players, right? They're going to sign Durant and Kyrie. I knew it wasn't going to happen because they kept pushing it. And now what they're stuck with is Barrett. I mean, good luck, man. Expect another losing season. Have nothing to look forward to. Mets fired their manager. They're looking at Joe Girardi. I tell you the truth, Joe Girardi is such a great manager. I wouldn't even want him to come to the Mets, man, because they'll find a way to just fucking. So many players. I can't even begin to think of how many players came to New York. Let's put the Yankees on the side because they're a specialty of their own. They've done very well. Any players that have come to the Mets, these superstars they signed, starting with Bobby Bonilla, Eddie Murray, I mean George Foster. I could go back years. I guess they had enough of the shit. They just, you know, they're not spending any more money because they all turn out, they end up losing money. Look at Bobby Bonilla. They end up having to pay this guy $1 million a year for the next 20 years. That contract got all fucked up. The Mets thought that they were getting over. And in the end, he got over. How would you like to? Okay, you get paid once a year, but how would you like to get a check for $1 million every July 1st for the next 20 years? Not bad, man. Not bad at all. Fucking New York team. See, my dad was totally, my dad wasn't I never forgave him for, he was supposedly a Met fan, okay? And then when the Mets started losing, then he started rooting for the Yankees. You don't do that. Either you're faithful to one team one New York team or nothing, if you're a diehard fan. If you're a diehard fan of the Mets, stick with the Mets. If you're a diehard fan of the Jets, you don't go to the Giants. If you're a diehard fan of the Knicks, you don't cross boundaries and go over to the Nets. That's just how it is, man. That's called loyalty. So he used to, he says he was a Brooklyn Dodger fan, but then he would tell me that he was actually a New York Giant fan. He had 3 teams to root for in New York back in the days. Back in the 1940s and 50s, you had isn't that incredible? You had the New York Giants, they played at the Polo Grounds. You had the Yankees that played in the old Yankee Stadium, which is the only stadium that I think is a real stadium, okay? That was the stadium that they should always have been playing in. And, you know, keep it going like Fenway Park and Wrigley Field, but no, they had to tear it down and all other bullshit. And Ebbets Field, that was, come on, that's like a freaking landmark. Well, what can you do? Owners decide they can't make any money in Brooklyn, so. And then when they started when they brought a team back to Brooklyn, the minor league team, the Cyclones, what kind of shit is that, man? I'm gonna go to one fucking game. You gotta be kidding me. I'm gonna sit there and root for a team just because they're in Brooklyn? A minor league single A team? No. That's your consolation prize. Fucking one. So when the Dodgers moved out, I was too young. Unfortunately, I was not born when the Dodgers moved to Los Angeles, whatever. But I've heard stories from old timers that it was just so cool to go to Dodger Stadium. If you lived in Brooklyn, you got on I think it was the D train. The D train that took you to Prospect Park, where the Botanical Gardens is. And it's like a block away. You go through the gardens and you go right to the stadium. Must have been so freaking cool, man. Oh, man. Jackie Robinson, Carl Furillo, Pee Wee Reese. Great teams. So that's why when the Mets came into existence, you know, they treated them like the little baby brother, you know. First Met game I went to was 1968. Shea Stadium was like 3 years old, and it looked like a spanking new ballpark. I had never been to a Major League Baseball game before, and I was always used to the announcers, you know, announcing the game over the television, and it was like so weird to go to the game and you didn't have, you know, anyone announcing unless you wanted to listen to the radio, man. That was fucking insane, man. Unless you were, you know, you couldn't do it without Lindsey Nelson, Bob Murphy, and Ralph Kiner. Those were the announcers back then. And so when they miraculously won in 1969, Miracle Mets, I was like, I used to scream and cry when they would lose in '68. I remember when I first became a Met fan. And so one time I'm over at the relative's house and had like this big get together, and I usually didn't throw a tantrum in front of guests when guests were around, you know. I usually did it at home in front of my mom and dad, and they didn't appreciate that. But I try to keep my composure because the Mets were getting blown out by the Phillies. I think it was 12-1, and I started crying and I ran in the room. So I remember my uncle talking to my other uncles watching. I remember he said to them, "Did he have money on the game?" You know, And I'm like freaking 8 years old. So he was making a joke about it. So he comes in the room and tried to console me. And told me, Brian, the Mets are not going to win all the time. That's how it is, You're not going to win 162 games. That's how baseball is. And from that day on, I never cried. And then miraculously, as you get older, you grow out of it. So like in '69, when they won, I couldn't fucking bowl. I was like, we didn't have a color TV, so my brother had a color TV. He lived somewhere else. And we actually saw the game in color, game 1. I remember they were playing the Orioles, and they lost that first game. My dad was saying, it's over. They're not going to The Orioles were like the New England Patriots, okay? There was no way in hell anyone's ever going to beat them. And the Mets miraculously just was able to come back and win 5 games. And you had Seaver and Kuzman and not much of a hitting team, man. I mean, and they managed, it was all pitching. They didn't have any hitters really at all to keep them afloat. They just they had the momentum and they had the luck and the fans were on their side, and that was it. I mean, Cleon Jones, Don Clendenin, those guys were not, big names like Willie Mays or Mickey Mantle, but they carried the team, and the Mets were hot and they won. So that's about it. So yeah, man, I'm gonna leave the recipe for this this delicious chicken lo mein, and you're gonna freaking love it. Try to get the low sodium soy sauce. This is so good, man. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I'll come back with another video real soon.